It was a fling of
Yes.
Listen, I had to do that.
Well,
I feel like the countertop bar area it calls for a moment.
A moment.
Like that.
I love it.
And I felt like I had on slick enough pants that I could just...
That's so important.
Slick pants?
Yes.
Slicky pants.
Slicky pants.
You can go a lot of places with slicky pants, Cindy.
And there are some places you can't with slicky pants.
Yeah, know your place.
Yes, right.
Know the room.
Exactly.
Read the room.
Read the room. For sure.
Well, as these conversations keep going, we just hope we're adding value.
Right.
At the end of the day.
It's a hope. It's a dream, actually.
It's a dream. Oh my gosh. Okay. Before we start, I have another game.
Okay.
And I think the reason why I really love games, I really am not a lover of games. Like, I don't want to play Clue.
Oh, okay. My kids love Clue.
I don't want to do that.
Okay.
But these are fun to me.
Yeah.
Because we laugh.
So you're not a board game person? Mm-mm. Yeah, and I'm not a life game person. Please don't play games with me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just be real.
Have you ever played Catan?
No.
No, me neither.
Okay.
I was going to be like, I can't.
That's awesome. Have you ever gotten in a car? No,
No,
me either.
neither. I have friends that play Catan and they love it. And I'm like, I do not understand.
Yeah.
I can't get it. It's too much. But like fast moving games like this, love.
Okay.
It's just like a what do you like kind of question. It's just a one-liner random question.
Nice. I like this.
So I'll go and then you'll go and we'll just see.
Okay.
Upside down. Oh, I feel like I already know the answer to this question.
Okay.
Shoot. So if it's a repeat, I'll put it down.
Okay.
Where is your favorite place to travel?
Oh, I love Africa. South Africa, actually.
I was going to say the same thing.
What?
I promise. When I made this question, I was like, South Africa.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me why.
Well, I love Table Mountain, which is down in
Cape Town.
Cape Town.
I've never been.
Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. And you look out over the Cape and you actually can see the island where Nelson Mandela was imprisoned. They call it the university. Don't know if you ever knew that. Little piece of trivia. Love South Africa.
Same.
I got to do safari in Kruger Park. Amazing.
I didn't do Kruger, but
Yeah. It's incredible.
Yes. I think the people are so like warm, loving, hospitable.
Yeah.
It's just I love it.
They're so grateful when someone comes.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I'm like, people here are like, oh, it's you.
Right? They kind of make you feel
insignificant. Lead way.
Right.
We're talking about significance today, but we have one more question.
Okay, just one?
You go now.
Okay. I won't be long.
No, it's fine. We have
upside
time.
down. Maybe they're all upside down.
I think they're all upside down.
Where is your favorite place to get coffee?
Oh. Okay, so we just moved into a place in the Houston area.
Is this going to take a long time?
You're like, should I go get more coffee?
No, go ahead. You just moved into a new place.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Okay, and I went to HEB.
What?
Okay, I know. And there is a little coffee shop in HEB off of, I guess it's the Memorial City HEB. The best cappuccino I have ever had.
What?
I'm like, I'm going to come here. It's not for the vibe,
right,
but it's for the coffee. It's amazing. What about you?
My favorite place is in Fort Worth.
Oh.
Fort Worth, Texas. It's called Ascension.
Okay. Sounds
amazing coffee.
Okay.
The people who own it are from Australia. And they have all the little Australian brekkie foods. That's what they call breakfast.
Okay.
Brekkie foods.
Okay.
And their coffee is amazing. Amazing. And the place is super cute and quaint and all that.
Yeah.
It's in the bougie part of Fort Worth. It's not in Cowtown.
Girl.
You know what I'm saying? Down by Billy Bob's.
Hey, there's
Do you know about
dancing-
Billy Bob's?
My husband does.
Oh, see?
Isn't that the dancing
I've only
place?
been there once.
The dancing bar?
Yeah, it was in my wild days. I never had any
I
wild
know.
days.
Actually, yeah.
I
it was
went to a
in his
concert, but yeah.
I've heard lots of stories about
Yes.
Billy Bob's.
Yeah, thankfully my story is not crazy.
Okay.
Yes.
No, Angel.
Oh,
all your
well,
life.
Yes. Try to be a preacher's kid.
Kid.
They're the worst.
I know, right?
Well, let's have one more. Let's have one. I'm going to ask
okay.
you one more.
Okay. Okay.
What is your favorite book?
Oh. All-time favorite book is Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers.
Good.
I could not. That was a book that changed my life.
Wow.
That's why it's my favorite book.
Wow.
And yeah, that's it. I don't read. No, I'm kidding. Okay, what about you?
There was a book called The Bait of Satan.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of
John
Bevere.
Bevere.
Yes.
Yes.
Changed my world.
Yep.
Changed my world.
I love that.
And then I do love the book that I'm writing the screenplay about. The Singer, the Song, and the finale. It's a trilogy.
Okay.
Gorgeously written.
Where can people find that?
You can get it on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah, by Calvin Miller.
Okay.
It's poetry, but it's phenomenal. It's absolutely a gorgeous book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
And of course, the Bible.
The Bible.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to.
It's the richest book for sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to admit, sometimes it's hard for me to read the Bible just
Okay.
because it, trying to absorb.
Yes.
It's
I feel like I go through phases or seasons, I should say, where I am like in it chapter to chapter. I'm just like reading it like a story, and I'm like, oh, this is so good. And it's coming off the pages.
Yeah.
And then I could do that for like 2 or 3 months. Like that's kind of what I do. And then one day I'll sit down to do the same thing I've been doing. And I'm like, oh, this isn't working. Like, so then it's like more where I read and a verse will pop off the page
Right.
or something like that. Yeah, I go through seasons.
me too.
Or I don't know what you would call it.
I don't either.
I don't know.
But
I just
it's
keep
okay.
doing it.
Keep going.
You just keep doing it because it's good.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about significance.
Yeah.
It's going to be significant.
For sure.
It's going to be good. I think this is something that probably most people have struggled with in their life.
Yeah.
And one thing with your story, and we talked about in episode 1, just what you've accomplished in your life, and it's kind of a big deal. I mean, I jokingly, I'm like, you're famous.
In very small circles.
But I didn't know she was famous when we were friends. Yeah. But you've just been able to do a lot of things that even myself, I would be like, wow, that is so significant, or that is important. And when I was thinking about this topic of significance, I looked up the definition and help me, I told it to you earlier, refresh. Okay, it's feeling worthy of acceptance or importance.
Right.
And so
And
it's
attention.
Like an attention.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like an act of something that brings about a feeling that makes you feel worthy. And I know you've been in a lot of places and positions that you could feel significant or you could feel worthy based on what you did.
Right.
And then I also, even on the flip side of that, being a mom of toddlers, you can feel very insignificant because of your position. And so I love that. I want to hear your story because I feel like you've got this beautiful history. And how do you navigate when you reach some high point moments in your life that one would feel significant? How do you navigate that where you don't kind of put what you do as the trigger to significance?
Yeah. I know in one of the previous episodes we talked about being as opposed to doing. And I've done a lot. I have put my hands to a lot of things that have been successful and currently doing something that could be, we'll see how it all pans out, but something that could be very impactful. And I think because of the way my parents raised me and starting the doing at a very early age, I never wrestled with feeling confident.
Okay.
So I think confidence is different than significance.
I agree with that.
So I never wrestled with being confident because I had two parents that always said, you're doing a great job, even if it wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
You know, they would say, I'm glad you at least tried to do that. You know, it'll be better next time. You know, even when I went through some of the most challenging seasons of my life, you know, my parents were like, we're so proud of how you handled that. So I never really wrestled with confidence, but you know, anytime you kind of step forward, there are going to be people who always try to push you down.
Yeah.
And I think for me, having the challenge of not accepting and taking on what people are trying to put on you.
Yeah.
And I walked through a very difficult season in one of my jobs with a gentleman who just absolutely did not want to see me succeed in a lot of different areas. And I had to overcome being handled that way.
Yes.
And I could have, you know, there were nights that I would go home and talk to my husband about it, and I would shed tears, you know, but I never felt like who I am.
Right. Yes.
Was not worthy of what I was doing. And, you know, I think it's a choice for people to feel insignificant. I think it really is. You have to choose to take that on.
That's like a bold statement, but it's true.
It is true.
Like, let that sink in. It's a choice whether you feel insignificant or not.
Yeah, because the Bible says that you are worthy.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that Jesus came and gave his life for you, for us, for me, is reason enough for anyone to have, we were significant enough.
Yes.
That the darling of heaven came to earth to give his life for us.
Yes.
So we're all worthy. We're all significant. And whether someone projects their thoughts about you onto you, or whatever you're going through, even if you, like my sister, she has 3 amazing sons. They're all grown with families. I mean, these guys are just, they're amazing men. And she wrestles at times with feeling like I never achieved anything big with my doing.
Yeah.
And we sit and have these conversations, and I tell her all the time, listen, your boys, look at the families now that they're raising.
Yes.
You have done something so incredibly significant. You've helped shape these men into people who know how to raise a family and serve the community. And I mean, you know, so her significance is super high on my gauge, you know, of something that she's done. She put the right things in them, and now they're these amazing men.
Yes.
I think too, sometimes we feel like because it doesn't look a certain way, it's not significant.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't think you should put your personal significance in the same basket of what you're doing, whether it's significant or not.
I agree. Yeah, I remember I had said earlier in other episodes that my daughter was born when I was 18. And so I really went from this place of being a high school student. I did graduate early, but being so young and going straight into marriage. 6 months later, I was pregnant. 9 months later, I had Madison. 14 months later, I had Andrew. And so my life revolved around pregnancy and babies. And then my husband was like, I was just like trying to keep my head above water at this point. And so he kind of fell down here. But I was a lot like you. I was raised with my dad saying, you can do anything that you want to do. Anything that you put your hand to, you are good enough for, and you have everything that it takes. He is my biggest cheerleader in life. And so I really did, until I had small children and life changed dramatically for me. But I had that mentality of like, I can do anything I want. Like anything I put my hand to, I can achieve. But I remember wrestling at that, young age with small babies and changing diapers and bottles and crying and not sleeping. And I remember this feeling of like, oh my gosh, my future is like everything, all the significance that I was able to put my hope in, and all the things that I would do that I thought would bring me significance is like, in that moment, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling that void as a young mom, that questioning of what am I doing, and is this what I'm going to do for the rest of my life?
Yeah.
That I feel so unseen and so not good enough. And I think that highlighted a moment where it really was, I was putting my significance in what I was doing instead of being. And I had referenced earlier, I would love to go backwards, you know, and God is so gracious that He redeems history.
Yeah.
I am in the middle, I was saying, of being an empty nester, and I hope I can remember what my point was, but I got a good something to say, so we're gonna pause. At the beginning of this year, as I was getting ready for the new year, you know, we all go, you know, okay, God, what's the new year going to be, and what's the word or the song or the whatever, the verse, and so I'm praying and I'm thinking about all of this, and I heard the Lord so clearly in that still small, you know, deep down in your belly, and He said, put your kids first. Well, my kids are 22 and 23, and I'm like, aren't we done with that?
Already done that?
Remember? I did that a long time. And He said, put them first, like really first. And He said, if they call, you pick up the phone. If they need you, you drop what you're doing and go. You work your entire life around putting them first. And I was like, absolutely, yes. And this is in that transition of like, God, what am I doing? My moments of surrender that we talked about earlier. And but I said yes, because it was like, I've surrendered, and you are all that I have. And what I've done up until thus far, I'm left still with a place of surrender in the most beautiful way. So I said, yes, absolutely. And little did I know that we would be in this place where my son has gone into the military and my daughter has found the love of her life, and we're talking marriage, and in a few short months my whole entire world changed, and I didn't know it in January. And so I was talking to a friend of mine crying, and I said, God is so good. Because the thing that I would say is, if I could go back and do something again, it was to be very present with my children. I chased an elusive rabbit of significance for my children's entire life. And it wasn't until I was older, my frontal lobe developed. That's an inside joke from the other episodes. It wasn't until I traveled a little ways in maturity that I realized, oh my goodness, I've left my children in the dust. And there was one particular time that I was searching for significance in the church that I was at. And at this point, you know, my kids are in elementary school. I'm still like young, you know. But I'm just trying to figure out what makes me me, and where do I come alive, and what can I do, while I'm trying to fit in the box and the framework that I was in. But I spent years, I would get this, and I remember the feeling, and I can see it in my mind's eye of putting a carrot on the end of a string and just chasing, and like the string would go around like the races, you know what I mean? It would go around the track, and I was here, never able to catch the carrot. And I would say in my late or mid 20s, I had a nervous breakdown. And I remember my mom showed up on my doorstep. She drove through the night, and she showed up on my doorstep, and she said, enough is enough. And we are going to get some help, and you're going to get some counseling, and we are going to get through this. But what I realized when that happened is my life was so wrapped around friends and what I did, all in this search for significance, because I just wanted to be seen, and I wanted to be loved by someone. But because my love wasn't founded, and me being seen wasn't founded in Christ first, it didn't matter what friendship I had. It was never enough. My relationship with my husband, it was never enough, because I was always trying to, I want you to feel something in me. I just want to feel worthy. I want to feel important.
Yeah.
And it all came crashing down. And as I was sitting across from my counselor, I said, I have a hard time feeling love towards my children, and I feel very indifferent. And I don't want to feel this way, but it's the only way I know how to feel. And I remember feeling so much shame in that moment of, I know I love my kids, but I just wish that I loved them, fully alive, loved them with all of my heart, that I could be in the moment. But constantly I was always thinking on to the next thing, moving forward, and always in search for significance, just wanting to feel worthy and be seen. And I spent, 4 or 5 days with her, and we prayed through a lot of stuff. And part of just this idea of being fully alive was, I remember stepping out of her office after we had prayed together and talked, and I remember I took a really deep breath, and I could feel the air for the first time different in my lungs. I'd never felt it before. And I like to describe it like it hit the bottom of my stomach, and for the first time I felt alive. Wow. And it was this exchange of, I'm not, and I knew better up here.
Yeah.
I knew better than to put my hope in man, because I was taught that way.
Right.
I'm in this Christian world, and I love the Lord, and I was saved and all that, but my soul hadn't matched up yet with what the redeemed work on the cross.
Right.
And so it was this shift in that moment in Tennessee of me saying, oh, I'm actually at the end of myself again, and I'm going to give all of me to you and let you call me significant. And so I came back home about 7 days later, and I remember coming back home feeling and knowing I was completely different, that something had changed in me, that I would never go back. And I walked in, and my kids had signs that said, like, I love you and I miss you, Mom. And I don't know what they knew. I don't know what they knew in their little hearts, why Mom left, and had to go away for a little bit. But I remember I knelt down in the ground, and for the first time I felt love for them in a way that I had never felt before.
Wow.
And I spent so many years trying to search for significance when my season was meant to be significant for those little ones.
Yeah. Isn't it funny how the enemy will whisper to us, this isn't it.
Yes.
This isn't what you're in right now, isn't it?
Yes.
It's out there.
The next thing.
It keeps you running and chasing after something that is never here. It's always there.
Yes.
And it's such a trick of the enemy, really, to keep us in a place where we can't touch it.
Yes.
Where we can't arrive and achieve.
Yeah.
And, I think it's just really the goodness of God that finally when you hear and feel His voice say, you're enough.
Yeah. Yes.
Because I think you're enough.
Yes.
It's not because you do this or do that, or you have achieved this or achieved that, but just you.
Yes.
Just you are enough.
Yes. Yes.
And it's so hard sometimes to wrap your mind around that because maybe there's been someone in your life that has said, you're not enough.
Right.
That's where so many people live in that kind of a situation where you're not good enough. You'll never achieve this. You'll never fulfill your dreams.
Yes.
You're lackluster. You can't, there are people who live in that constant environment. And yet here you and I, raised in an environment where your parents say, you can do anything, you're amazing. And yet there are times when you feel like, I'm
really not worth it, or I'm not worthy, or, and it's the
or man, I just wish people would notice, people would see, people would think I'm important,
Yes.
your peers or who, you know.
And I was thinking when you were talking a second ago, just even about your career, and from an outsider's looking in, I'm like and everything that you're doing, your career is just getting started in the beautiful way. But I think if you didn't have this solid place and awareness that your significance is in Him first,
No doubt.
that I don't know that you would be here today.
I wouldn't.
I don't know that you could have lasted the industry,
Nope.
the divorce, any of it.
Yeah. Yeah, even growing up with my family when we toured and sang and did albums and everything else, you know, there were, I remember we were signed with CBS Records, and they had just started a Christian label. This was back when dinosaurs roamed the earth. And we had just signed with CBS Records, and we had been with them. We had recorded one album, maybe we'd recorded two, and not our label, but the mother company, CBS, went through a huge shift. There's actually a book called Hitmen written about it. And we were with them at the time. And when it was a huge power struggle, and the gentleman who oversaw our label was fired from the company, and they fired everybody that worked for him and released every artist he signed. So there we were without a record deal. You know, we were just kind of trying to figure it out, and because we had gone with this secular company opening a Christian label, all of the Christian companies blacklisted us. So we couldn't get a record deal with the Christian companies. Isn't that Christ-like?
It is.
And
just showing love.
It's right. So, I mean, we as a whole family went through this thing of, gosh, we're,
now
you know, and I mean, we were very successful. I mean, albums that charted, songs that charted. Everywhere we went to do a concert, places were packed. I mean, any label would love to have a group already established and making money for the label. And yet there we were, without a label. And I mean, we went through a season of feeling like, man, we're not significant enough for somebody to just pick us up and say, you know what, I believe in you. I believe in what God's put on you and called you to. And, you know, we just all made a choice. It's like, we're in this together, first of all. And God's not done with us just because somebody says they don't want us on their record label. And we just kept doing what God had called us to do. And we're still very successful at it, you know. And I think it taught us a valuable lesson of knowing that our destiny didn't rest in what somebody thought about us or what somebody did to us. You know, that our destiny was in the hands of God, our Creator. And that is significant enough to know that our steps are ordered and that He's taking us on a journey. And that He's chosen us for that specific thing.
It reminds me of two things. The previous episode we talked about just saying yes for today, being so present in today, and how, and I see how this knowing, we talked about knowing that God is our source, and it's like goes back to that significance. I think about the scripture in Acts where it says, in Him we live, we move, and we have our being. Like it's in Him that record labels come and go. It's in Him that podcasts happen and flourish or fall apart. It's in Him that we do everything, and it's in Him that I'm a mom. It's in Him that I'm a wife. And it's in Him that I am the woman of God that He's fashioned me to be, and out of that I live and I move.
It's powerful. It's so simple, really, but it's a difficult thing to, difficult place to live sometimes, even though it's so simple. You know, I think we put so much weight in what people think. Like it says, significance is feeling worthy of attention or importance. And attention on you has to come from somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so that's why it's a difficult place to live.
Yes.
Because you want others to think, oh, she did good.
Yeah,
she's
right.
somebody.
Yeah,
you know, she's funny. She's happy. She's beautiful. She's accomplished. She's whatever. And everybody wants to feel that. And so it's a difficult place to live when you're not feeling it.
Yeah.
But a feeling is not who you are.
No. And feelings, what is the saying? Feelings, they come and go.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's if you had enough sleep the night before, or if you're not feeling well.
They can be deceiving.
They can be. They can be. I think they can be great indicators to just do a little quick check.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is like, hey, your feelings show you need some rest.
Right.
Or your feelings show like you're actually hurting on the inside.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I love the living, the moving, and the being. And it's as I live in Him, I am, and so I go and I do.
Yeah.
And it's and I think about, if you had said it's hard, I love that. You had said it's like sometimes hard to stay in a place where we keep our significance here, where we live and move and have our being here. And I think it's that I had this idea that popped in my head, like, what if every morning we wake up and just ask the Lord, am I significant to you? We know the answer, but sometimes I think He just enjoys telling us.
Yeah.
And to listen to what He says, and like, who am I to you?
Right.
What do you see whenever you see me? I know you made me. I know you formed me. I know I'm not a surprise to you, but can you remind me of who I am?
That reminds me of, I think it was Abraham that said, who am I that you are mindful of me? And he was called a friend of God because he put his faith in the Lord.
Yes.
I mean, how significant is that?
Yeah.
I mean, talk about name dropping. It's like, I'm a friend of God. I don't know about you, but he calls me friend.
He calls me friend.
You know what I'm saying? He calls me friend.
Yeah.
I'm his close friend. He's got my number, and I have his on speed dial. You know, so it's like, you know, I mean, how significant is that?
Yeah.
Incredible. You know, who am I? Abraham was asking that.
Yeah.
Who am I that you, the creator of the universe, are mindful of me?
Yes.
And God said, I'm your friend. You are my friend. I want to be in relationship with you.
Yes.
I sit down and have coffee.
Yeah.
With the tea on the cup. You know, with you.
Yes.
That's who God is.
Yes.
So I think finding our significance is really in relationship with Him.
Yeah.
Because He's the one who gives us the attention. Yes. With His attention, we are important.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
And his attention hits different.
Yeah.
It's a little slang.
Yeah,
it hits different.
It hits different.
But it hits in a place that no speaking engagement or singing gig or anything can hit. Not even, He can hit places in my life that my husband can't touch.
Right. Yeah.
He fulfills me in a way, and it's out of that fulfillment that I live and I move and I have my being.
Right.
And so it goes back to living fully alive. It's like, wow, what would life look like if I believed that I was significant in Him like He says that I am?
Yeah.
How would I respond to my spouse and my children and my job and my workplace? And what dreams would I dream about? What risks could I take and what I say yes to if I knew that actually I was just significant? I was enough.
Yeah.
I was enough. And in Him, everything's in me that I need to live and move and have our being.
That's right. So good.
It's so good. Well, I hope you had an amazing time, just like we did. And I want you to know that I feel very seen by you.
Oh, I'm so glad, because I feel the same from you. I do.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of friendship.
Yeah.
True friendship.
Yes. Yeah.
When you see the soul. The Bible calls that spirit to spirit.
Yeah.
We know each other spirit to spirit. It's not just, Natalie Taylor, the beautiful blonde that smiles and she's always a light in the room, you know. It's just knowing who you are. That's the beauty of it.
It is. Yeah.
It is. I love you, friend.
I love you. I love you. Until next time.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you are feeling restless in your current season.
I wonder if you have not been able to put your finger on why. Maybe it's not about your circumstances, your age, or your season of life. Maybe it's more about this ongoing quest for significance. I'm so grateful that Cindy was transparent today and shared her testimony. This conversation probably helped me more than anyone else watching. I keep thinking about the scripture from Acts. Life is about living, moving, and being. I'm learning that finding purpose isn't about climbing some ladder or ticking off achievements. It's about being present right where I am, living awake, eyes wide open with a heart of gratitude. So here's to embracing the journey and finding peace and purpose in everyday moments. Share in the comments a moment from this conversation that spoke to you. I would love to hear. And join us next time as we continue to dig into life's big questions. But until then, keep living, keep moving, and keep being.